Will, how you making out?
What will? What's Will?
We're doing well.
Will Hossable from Windmill Cabinets.
Similar to what you guys are saying, we are open for business. Our showroom, I'll start with sales. Our showroom is closed unless there's an appointment. To make that appointment, we are doing a pre-screening over the phone with any potential client. And then we're also doing a screening in the showroom. So we're asking visitors to wash their hands and also use hand sanitizer. We have a procedure and policy put in place now that after a visit, only one customer at a time in our showroom. And then after that visit's done, there's a procedure that has to be followed and check marked and signed by our designers that they're wiping down surfaces and samples and putting them all back properly that way. Any appointments are also being logged in a shared Outlook calendar among our design team, so we can keep track of who's coming and going. As far as manufacturing and plant goes, we are closed to any outside visitors, so deliveries, outside salespeople, anything like that is not allowed to come in the building. Delivery would make a phone call to our shop number, and our shipper receiver would come out and do the work there. Staff-wise, we are about 40 in manufacturing staff. We're down 8 people that have chosen to stay home / in self-quarantine because of being on March break out of the country. That doesn't help either. Most of the majority of people are still coming to work and willing to work. I think one thing that's helped is that we do morning meetings every day, and we are a pretty good community with each other, and what Laverne was just talking about, really stressing who you let in your life outside of work. And we're doing the same thing every day. We're talking about going home, staying there, going to work, staying here, and going back home, and doing that on repeat as much as possible. And we're sharing things on how to make that easy. And we get a lot of collaboration, and people have ideas like, go to the grocery store once a week. Don't go every 2 days. Go once a week and get what you need, and don't go back. Don't go through drive-throughs and pick up your coffee every day at break time. Who knows whose germs are there. So there's kind of a line you have to walk in talking and stuff like that. On site, any installation that is not necessary. So we consider new home construction our biggest necessary customer right now. And full renovation projects where people are just living without kitchens. We see that as a big priority to fill as well. But service things, repairs, add-on cabinets, all that kind of little stuff is totally on hold right now. We're not making any sales calls for that or any service visits. And we're doing the same pre-screening with them as our potential new clients. And we're empowering our delivery and install team that if there's anything that smells funny when they get to a job site, that it doesn't add up to what they would have been pre-screened, they completely walk away and give us a call, and we'll handle it.
So if you're pre-screening your installations,
yeah.
Do you mind talking about your checklist a little bit?
Yeah, sure. We put together a checklist and kind of through our lawyer helping us with that. And it's just 4 major questions. It's, hey, have you been out of the country in the last 14 days? Do you have any reason, according to the government's rules, to be self-quarantining? Like, are you associating with people who need to be quarantined, or you're living with someone who's been out of the country? We're asking those questions, and if the answer is no to any one of them, then we say, well, we're just going to have to put you on pause right now. And any contractor, we're demanding that we're the only people in the house when we're there. We got magnetic signs we're putting on the front doors of the houses and saying, hey, we're the only people in here. Please respect that. So far, our home builder clients have been great. They've been fully understanding. Most of them are practicing these same things. And the ones that are a little bit loose on their own personal job sites are still respecting our decision, I guess. With kitchens, I guess you have the advantage of kind of having the upper hand, right? Your house can't close without a kitchen. So they need us there for sure. So
So is there any challenges that you're having right now as a result of the crisis that you haven't tried to access any government programs, and have you considered any the retooling for PPE? And is there any other topics we should be doing going forward in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we got on the phone right away with our banker, and really surprisingly, they're really willing to help. That was my comment I was going to make to Simon here about talking about landlords and stuff. Like, landlords have the ability to defer mortgage payments for up to 6 months, basically no questions asked.
Yeah.
If you have good credit, like we have a small business financing thing for some machinery we bought a couple years ago, and we got a little bit left on that to pay, and it was a simple phone conversation, and they gave us 6-month deferral right off the hop. So little things like that help. And also, we did take advantage of the employee health tax that we have to pay every month. So there's a deferral on that as well, $25,000 per company. So depending how big you are and how big your payroll is, that might not make a huge dent, but it's still something. That has to be claimed as income tax at the end of your fiscal year, though. So it's $25,000 of income is how they look at it in the end. You're still ahead, but just be aware of that. And then, yeah, this HST announcement that came out as well, deferral on HST payments and WSIB rates as well. So there's 2 other things that we're looking into, which is all great to keep cash flow running, but we all got to be aware that someday we still got to pay that. So when we run at the end of 2 months or 3 months from now, and we're able to keep cash flow going and pay bills, the government's always going to want their money no matter what. So they've never said that they're going to give us free money. They're just saying they're deferring taxes and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's one thing we're trying.
And the bank's the same thing. The bank, you're deferring it just means then your mortgage is longer, and you will be paying more interest on that.
Yeah.
Like, those aren't interest-free months.
No, our approach has been deferral, so that you're kind of put in pause rather than just eating up lines of credit, because
yes, for cash flow.
You have to pay both ways in the end, but cash flow is really the important part. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are great insights, Will. Really appreciate it. I'm assuming that some of the folks that are on here must be aware of these, because they seem to be fairly universal benefits. When we do up a little write-up of today, we'll talk a bit about what some of our members are accessing. And I'm wondering, if not all of our members are using everything that's available to them. And your examples are great, so I really appreciate you sharing those.
Can I make one more comment too, Mike?
Absolutely.
I already heard it once, but maybe it was Simon, I don't remember, asking about payments to customers, right? Contractors that are in our good books, they pay a final invoice at the end, right? I'm sure that's not too much different than most of us here. And a couple of them, we've just said, hey, on the larger projects, can we meet halfway in the middle? We all got to help each other out here. And so far we've had a couple that, yeah, sure, no problem. Because really what they're doing is they're taking a draw. If you're building a large custom home, you're taking a draw from their own customer, right? So it's not, it doesn't have to be money out of their pocket. And so far, so good. It definitely doesn't hurt to ask, if we've taken the approach, hey, if you're our partner in this together, hopefully we can work together. That's not going to always work, but.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Will. Let's flip it to our supply chain for a minute. We got Rob Weber online. Rob, we're glad you could join us. And I'm wondering, from your perspective as a supplier, an important partner to the BWA, how is this impacting you? And I know you've got folks in our membership that owe you money, and because you supply them. So could you comment on the questions and comment from your perspective? Oh, got to turn you up. I think you're mute. Is he muted, Ryan? You're muted.
I don't think he has a microphone for this call, actually. He might be on a phone call.
Oh,
but
okay.
I don't see an audio option for him.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Rob from White Oak Custom Woodworking.
Rob.
Our business has been established since '92, so we started in a recession. We've seen thick and thin throughout the years. Anybody who's been very close to us has seen the struggles, the challenges, and everything that we've been through. Thick and thin, we've made it through a lot of the challenges that were presented in the last 30-odd years. We are an owner. We do own our building. We do have tenants in our building. Challenge-wise, what we're facing right now is the uncertainty, as everyone else is facing. But the most important thing that we need to that we've identified as ourselves is being in the component manufacturing side of things. We've noticed this week. Now, we shut down as of last Friday. So Friday was our last day. We've reopened our facility, staggered shifts, simply because of the increase of business that we've had come in from existing clients and clients that manufactured their own products. Vertically integrated clients are now outsourcing to us because they have challenges with maintaining employees, gathering supplies if they're in making solid wood doors or the laminate doors. So those are the strengths that we've seen. We've procured about 4 months of inventory with containers as far as our high gloss mats, textured wood grains from our supply chains and direct, edge banding as well. Solid wood is in abundance to us as well. So we've noticed that we've had to sort of bring our staff back voluntarily in order to address everybody's weaknesses, which was making products in-house now. I think it's a very important subject to touch on for the next session, simply because as everybody is going to be in the cash flow crunch, it's very important that we begin looking at outsourcing our weaknesses and focusing on our strengths. And that means if we're not able to install, if my client is not able to install because permits aren't being issued, or we're stockpiling, the danger of stockpiling is simple. You don't know if an order is going to be canceled, and we've had situations where when we announced our closure, we've had orders canceled. Let's face the facts. I mean, 75% completion on an order, $6,000-7,000 worth of cabinet doors, times that by I don't know, 15 clients that decided to jump ship on us. That's a pretty heavy bill of product that we're stuck with. I'm not concerned because there are a lot of the products can be reused, but be very careful on stockpiling because we don't know the long-term outcome if projects get paused or if they get canceled indefinitely. And that's one thing that we've managed to discuss with our clients. Getting away from that subject, one of the sanitizing operations that we've done here is because everybody's been wiped out on hand sanitizers and Lysol wipes and disinfectants, alcohol, peroxide, you name it. We've reverted to our traditional steam cleaning. We've got industrial steam cleaners now. You don't necessarily have to have an industrial steam cleaner. A household steam cleaner, if you guys have any type of thermal IR guns, the key is that they need to be at about 170 degrees Fahrenheit at about 2 to 4 inches distance. Now, we're fortunate we've got 3 units that we've been using to rip off labels from products that we've been using for years. And all of our office, anything that's high traffic, such as boardrooms, offices, bathrooms, switches, doors, you name it, including keyboards and workstations. I can't emphasize, since we've been doing this over about 2 months before COVID hit, our sickness of staff has gone down significantly just because, you know, the nose pickers and the lunch eaters that are there, everybody has been clean and their keyboards are clean, their mouse are clean. Very important areas to keep clean. So if you are out and you have steam, the power of steam, it kills bed bugs, it kills viruses. Hospitals use them. Natural steam cleaning is an option that a lot of people have not considered or even talked about. We just see the wipes being wiped out of stock, and that's all we hear, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Some of the challenges that we've seen. Here's what we're doing. Before, when Italy got hit, about a full month ago now, because we've got family in Italy that run industries, we took their procedures as far as their workplace health and safety procedures and have adapted them to our business. One of the most important things for any businesses that are running, let's say, staggered shifts or staggered shafts. I forgot who the gentleman was that made a comment on sanitizing the carts. Tooling, we can't forget about tooling. One of the things we do with our steam cleaners, staple guns, palm sanders, anything that is even workstations where we have our CNC operators, like with their control panels and stuff like that. Anything like that has to have disinfecting or any type of wiping and cleaning. The one thing that we've done, we pre-screen our employees before they come. We don't do any more group meetings. We're communicating via text, phone, or group chats. The assessment that we're doing for employees coming back, we're no longer bringing in a full shop. Everything is minimum 10 in a 50,000 square foot operation. So you can imagine the social distancing that we have going on in our operation. We had an individual that showed symptoms, not symptoms for COVID, but sickness. Now, we're taking all precautions and keeping people home. So that was voluntarily. But when we have situations where people come in, and I'm going to use UPS as a delivery medium right now. UPS, as of today that we've seen, their drivers, some of the drivers, at least the ones in our area, now have the full face shields.
Really?
Yes, and we asked the driver, and it's something that they're procuring. They're trying to get UPS for that. I managed to get a cost from them as to what he paid for them. He said they were about like 16 to 17 bucks. They're daily use masks, daily use visors, but we were sort of, I guess, pleased to see that they're making that effort, especially if there's a sign, like a signature required for the packages. So these are the changes of how businesses are going to evolve. I mean, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same. It won't be the same for a long time. I think we need to realize that we need to adapt ourselves for what the new norm will be in the upcoming months to a year. And the reality is that things will be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just my 2 cents. I mean, we've done everything necessary. I'm technically considering myself non-essential, and I had we had this conversation. Again, I don't want to be quoted on anything I'm saying for public at this point in time.
Yeah.
The amount of backlash that we received from some clients, I mean, the comments of businesses that we've been servicing for 18 plus years, being called selfish and that, we're not considering the supply chain and all that. I have a family just like everybody else, and my family is my workplace and my immediate family. And the decision we took to shut her down was a decision that we really had to think carefully on the outcome of it. And then we had on Sunday the decision to reopen and start the business because of the amount of orders that are there that we cannot walk away from. Homeowners that are left in limbo that can't, they're in renovations, they got to get back into their houses. And, customers just they didn't leash on us. They just told us, please, we got to get closures on these houses. These are not new homes. These are existing renovations. Imagine having a bloody kitchen ripped out, tiles out, dust everywhere. You're in COVID. You're in isolation.
Yeah.
You can't cook. You can't do anything. I mean, these families are getting top priorities right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And credit risk is another subject we need to discuss in the next episodes or the upcoming things.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but credit is one of those things right now. I'm not issuing you new credit. That's my bottom line. Call me selfish, call me whatever you want. I have exposure just like everybody else does. I'm not taking advantage of my subsidies or offset payments with banks and credit cards and everything. I'm staying on top as best as I can to pay the bills, to pay them outright so that things don't get accumulated, because the worst thing that we've seen in our years of operation is accumulating debt. It kills you.
Mhm.
It kills you. If anything, negotiate some terms with your supply chains, negotiate on price, and maybe, I hate to say it, you're going to have to stretch whoever is not important at this point in time. Very sensitive topics that we're talking about,
Yeah.
but the reality is that to stay afloat, you got to do what's best for you now,
Mhm.
right?
Yep. Robert, first of all, thank you for sharing. This is your first BWA event, and you've added a lot of really good input to the discussion. Interesting situation for you, seeing a company that chose to close and was forced to reopen, because really the context that you're talking about is an essential service. People need housing. I wish you all the best in how you're managing your employees and in the workplace and keeping them safe. And same for you, Will, as well, and sharing your situation, because I know you're running, if you're only down 8 employees, you're still running fairly strong numbers. And what I wanted to do at this point in time, I'm just in the interest of time, I've got 1:15 on my time, and we had this event going to 1:30, and I don't think we're going to have a problem hitting 1:30. What I wanted to do at this point, first of all, is thank everybody for joining us, and we're learning how to manage this new, how should I say, forum to engage you, and also we really want to make sure that we capture your ideas and your topics going forward. 2 things I wanted to do before we leave. I wanted to, Sepp, I'll get to you in a second. I see you wave your hand. I wanted to just point out that there are a couple of our members that are manufacturing PPE. One is Best Damn Doors. They were making the face shields. Now, I talked to Brad yesterday, and he ran into a roadblock getting a supply of plastic. So he's dealing with that. And I heard through the grapevine, Chuck, at Milestone, you're doing some work as well. Could you just give us an outline, just like a quick Cole's notes on what exactly it is you're doing, Chuck, if you're still there?
I've unmuted Chuck. He should be okay to talk. Chuck, we got you live on the air right now. Did you hear Mike reach out to you?
Hi, Chuck. Are you there? I hear microphone coming in and out.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. He had a bit of a challenge with his computer connecting.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely get him to share his story with what he's doing with the PPE, or with what he's doing in terms of retooling some of his capabilities to contribute towards needs of the crisis. Because I believe that there could be more opportunities for us to do that wherever it makes sense for us. Sepp, hand it over to you. Thank you for joining us, Sepp.
Hi, everybody. I have a point to your question about the PPEs. Okay, I don't know how many of you have seen. It was a clip in the news that a Oakville company was making dry. You know, those with the plexiglass screens and all of that. So when you go out now, you see every store has shields for their employees, in the grocery stores, in the gas stations. Has anybody of the manufacturers been asked to make those? And if like this is our industry to make store fixtures and all of that. And we need to bring together the demand and the manufacturers on that, because I don't think all the stores knows whom to ask. And on the other hand, the manufacturers don't know who needs them. So is there any way, Mike, the Blue Water could do something on that?
Yeah, James, you have you're asked to be queued in to comment. James Van Lagen.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about social distancing, but here at Carver, our social responsibility is also important. So we've worked with the local food bank. Everybody's over 70 in those food banks, and they're looking for food. And we're talking about how we're getting product out, but there's people looking for food every day that have no food that's been laid off. So we started at my www.helpyourcommunity.ca. We raised $5,000. We just got a cow from a farmer for ground beef. And I think everybody out here that has something should consider helping the people that have nothing.
Okay, thank you, James. That's a good point, and I think every community is individual and unique, and we all need to reach out to our immediate community. That's an awesome example. Sep,
You can't really set our shop up for masks and stuff like that, right? So it's some way we can help out.
yeah, for sure. Sep, when you were talking, you were cutting out. So
I have a bad internet connection.
that's because you live in God's country.
God seems to have a bad internet connection too these days.
Yeah, true. He does.
Should I repeat, or?
Yeah, you're wanting to talk to, so you were wanting any of the companies on the line who's been doing the PPE or doing the work for the mill work for the screens?
Yeah. Is there anything like all our manufacturing plants could make something if they would know what to make?
Exactly.
Okay?
That's my point. That's my point. Yeah.
And it's not like face shields or so, which is a little bit more complex, but it's all those barriers we need for any store where the public is interacting with consumers.
Right.
So,
and I know, yes, and I know Chuck from Milestone has started to do that.
There needs to be something done.
Yes. Chuck, did you get your microphone working yet? Because I know he's doing that. Maybe I'll bounce it. Okay, just that. So
Chuck is just saying he only has chat, so I guess he's putting information on the chat if you wanted to just read what he was saying. Okay, great.
I had talked to Chuck yesterday, though. Just to very briefly summarize, he had procured a contract with someone who, like in the Niagara area, they had a ton of these orders for these plexiglass protections. Not even plexiglass, actually. So he's currently making with this company on the back side of where the cashiers, so just behind them, kind of a protective shield there, so that any interactions going on behind them at the next cache, they've got protection from there. So that's one of the projects he's working on right now.
So I think that the equipment to cut that stuff. I mean, we've got CNCs. That's definitely one common capability that we all have. I don't know if any of us have plasma cutters or laser cutters that we use. And I don't know what other machinery that he uses, but maybe I'll get him to punch it into the chat. Maybe just as we're on the PPE thing, and I think we'll continue this next week in our next chat as well as part of it. I know Brad Cairns is on the line now, and I know that he just texted me saying he overcame his supply issues with the plastic. Brad, you're also looking at possibly doing other things. Can you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you, Brad. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. So, yeah, I don't know how much you've talked about what we're doing, but we're have set up, and we are currently shipping face shields. And the supply was the big issue, and it's going to be across all acrylics. So even all the shields that you're talking about and all of that stuff, it's coming. The shortage is coming. So if you're into making that stuff, I would probably buy what you can get your hands on right now.
Mm-hmm. What can you give us just a brief overview? Like, what was the pathway you took to tool up for that? What were some of the steps that you kind of went through to get your head around, and then to get set up, get retooled to actually start supplying them now? Can you describe it in, like, a very short?
Yeah. So what I've been doing is I've been collaborating with my friends in Europe. So they've got a couple of week head start on what's going on here. So I've been working closely with them, and as they're developing the products, I'm developing it with them. And tooling up was pretty, well, sort of. Tooling up for small runs is really easy. Anybody can make a face mask if you have a CNC. The problem is the consumption rate is so astronomical that it doesn't even make sense to cut them on a CNC. So we prototype on a CNC, and then we've actually went ahead and purchased die cutting equipment. So we're in a position now, as soon as our next shipment of plastic comes, we're probably going to make, 300 shields a minute. So we will be able to help anyone who wants to supply these things or has a consumer to give them to, whether it's the public or their community. You can just buy all the pieces from me and get it out to them. You put them together yourself. We don't care. We're just trying to get enough of this stuff out there that everybody's protected, and we can, reduce the curve of this virus that's shutting us all down.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that the BWA can do going forward is try and demystify a pathway of how a company can retool and for what type of need there is. And so maybe I'll do some work with SEP on that. We can do some more brainstorming, and I'll talk to the folks at NGen some more as well, because I know that they're funding a lot of projects. A lot of you may have seen those announcements for government funding for companies that want to set up and retool. The problem with those programs is that, speed is always of the essence, and it's not when it comes to writing government proposals and getting money out there. So that's a challenge that's also out there. So what I'd like to do is summarize now, guys, and thank you again, Brad, where we're going. And before we close off, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the BWA is a cluster, as you know. It's a cluster organization, and we're the only one in Canada that's a cluster organization based on the European cluster model. And as such, and we're based on the model out of Austria, and that's how we got started doing what we're doing. And we are part of a global network of clusters. It's called the TCI network, and it's a membership that we pay to be in a network, just like you do to be in the BWA. And we had the first webinar call with them last week, and I was on a call. Both Ryan and I were on the call, and we were on the call with folks from all over Europe. The Milan, the heart of it, actually, Chris Martin and I were supposed to go there for a session the end of April. Obviously, that's not happening. He was on the line. I spoke to people from Iceland, from South America, from all over the place, all over the world. And there's a series of slides they shared with us. And so with their permission, I've taken a few things from them. And I wanted to close off today with setting some context for all of us, and really, and because this is what they shared with the various clusters. And so, and this is actually coming right from Europe, and they're ahead of us. So within the next month, there'll be an emerging perspective on how the pandemic will play out in terms of demands on our healthcare systems is one dynamic. And we're really looking at, we have the crisis now. If you look those arrows across the top, we're living in the pandemic. It's going to be about 18 months. But igniting new growth is really going to have to start in about 6 months. And thinking about that for those of you who are shut down, for those of us that are slowed down, this is going to end. And there will be a time, where we need to be ready to get things back to normal. So within the next 1 to 3 months is going to be evidence of the extent of the short-term economic impact. And we're not sure what the extent of that is going to look like, but we'll see. And then within the next 12 to 18 months, the outbreak is going to subside and become manageable through vaccines or treatments. That is a likely outcome. So most of us, we really need to look at, firms have to adjust our operations, our interaction with our customers, our workplace safety, and supporting our families. And I know that you're all of us who are talked today are along this pathway. And we're going to have to adjust our business. And I hear that there's some real focus is going to be needed on our own cash flow and working with our supply chains. The short-term focus on markets, still up being operational and managing our supply chains and building for the future. These are all things that we're going to have to adjust our businesses for. Government, needs to be rolling out short-term support. So we're going to see how effective they are. There are so much demand and there are so many people with needs. And when you think about it, we as businesses have our needs, and there's the payroll subsidy, and also regular families as well. And how quickly they're going to be able to dole out all that cash that you've seen them talk about to regular Canadians and their families. That's going to be a monumental challenge. And so that's going to have a ripple effect along with everything else. So really, these are some of the other points that they had from Europe. And there's going to be some kind of stimulus to create demand. There's going to be a massive loss of wealth and income holding back demand. And so I think there's comments on us managing our cash, trying to avoid accumulating too much debt at this time, and then getting some financial support to companies to avoid the supply side bottlenecks. So whatever financial support is out there, I suggest all of you access it wherever you can. Maybe we'll have someone from BDC with us next week. I know that they were on the call today, and EDC, I think Lucci's on the call. Lucci, are you there? Maybe he's not anymore, but we'll make sure that we've got someone else on the call to speak to this. Getting access to working capital and financing of your trade and supply chain activities. And we really need to try and keep liquidity in our financial system. And this is kind of we're going to see bankruptcies. We're going to see some sectors hit more than others. And there's going to, so what will have changed is there's going to be a demand for higher resilience and self-reliance of value chains. Some structural changes in the demand profiles. I know, Rob Weaver, you're going to change how you're going to have to do business to continue supplying our members. And so it's not just our manufacturers, but it's our suppliers as well. And I know we got the folks from CNC Automation, and I know Kyle, you're on the call as well from Torres Craco. You're all going to be in step with us of how we adjust our business. But the things that are still there are our skills, our human capital, our infrastructure. Those are all good things that are still there. I think our challenge is going to be to try not to lose too much of that while we're reacting right now in crisis. And our institutions are struggling right now to try and react. So it's all playing out. I think that for us going forward, we need to stay engaged. We need to stay focused on, doing the best we can with what we've got. We at the BWA need to, more than ever, hear from you what your needs are, what's impacting you. And we're going to do our best to continue the dialogue. And we're going to have one of these online roundtable networking discussions every week. And some will be more of a webinar format. We'll let you know. I think there's a lot of value in just talking. And the goal of today was just to get everybody talking. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating today, and who contributed your ideas and shared your experience. And I know that there's some folks on the line that didn't get a chance to. So please, when we get back together, we will always leave time when we meet like this to just have some open discussion. And not stay too structured, because I think a lot of the value that I know all of you get from being a part of the cluster network is just being able to talk to each other. And so I can't emphasize enough too that the WhatsApp link that was sent out to everybody, please get on that, because that's really an ongoing chat for everybody. And thank you for sharing your ideas. So we will have this recorded, and we will post it on our website for members. And so watch the announcements for next week, and it'll probably be Wednesday next week that we'll have this webinar, and I'm assuming that it'll be noon hour is a good time, because those who are still running, it's your lunch hour. And I think the hour and a half is a good timeline. So I'd like to recognize, for everybody, I'd like to recognize the efforts made by Ryan Tabone and Tara Davey, part of the BWA team. They have, we posed a challenge, lead this challenge together, and I posed a challenge to them that we need to engage our members completely differently. And so we brainstormed, then they brainstormed, and I'd really like to tip my hat to Ryan, because he's got the technical ability to really quarterback the logistics behind this. So I'd like to give them, both Ryan and Tara, a round of applause if we could all clap. I don't know if you can unmute your mics, but thank you guys for that. So we're going to continue this. So watch for our announcements. And yep, someone wants
a question.
Yep.
Simon here. There have been on the chat line, there have been some links thrown up. When we disconnect, do we lose this connection and lose access to the chat? I guess that may be Ryan. Ryan's
That's a Ryan question. Yeah.
After you thanking Ryan for his technical abilities, he's the one to ask, I guess.
Yes.
Great question. This is our first time using chat with, or the chat with Zoom, and I wasn't totally confident that it would record afterwards. So I've actually pulled that all, and I put it into a Word document here, the entire chat. So just to make sure we didn't lose it for people who want to have the chat afterwards, I'll make it available for everybody. What I might end up doing is also including a quick survey or a poll, so we can get the feedback for people who weren't able to comment today on what topics they want to see moving forward, or at least maybe a subtopic within the next conversation that we can bring that to the forefront for everybody. And yeah, you'll see us give a final response after the event's concluded with the chat for those who would like it. Perhaps we could have it so you want to email myself or Tara, and we can send it out to you, because it might not make sense to put it out in an e-blast, but we could certainly, we'll keep it here as a historical file for anybody who wants it.
Yeah, and I just saw some people typed in the chat, you can actually highlight it all, copy and paste it into a doc. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going back, we're going to do a post-meeting debrief on the content that's been generated in the discussion, and from that we're going to extract some topics moving forward. And this will be archived for sure. So that's a great question, Simon. Thank you. So on that note, I think we'll close off. We've gone a little past our time. So out of respect for everybody, I'd like to thank you all, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week.